Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So today I have the keys to the all-new and redesigned 2022 Subaru WRX. This trim level is the Premium Edition. Huge shout out to Randy Marion Subaru for providing this vehicle for me today. Make sure you guys check out their website. All that info is down in the description. The WRX that you see behind me is finished off in blue sapphire metallic. It's a little bit darker than the classic WR blue that you see on a lot of the WRX models. And this has a list price just over $33,000. To start off today's review, we're going to take a look at what powers this WRX. Underneath the hood is a 2.4 liter flat four turbocharged engine paired to the 6-speed manual transmission, which is standard and sold in about 85% of the WRX models. It pumps out 271 horsepower, around 5,600 RPM, and 258 pound-feet of torque as low as 2,000 RPM. That power is sent through the all-wheel drive system. It weighs in right around 3,300 pounds. It'll do 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds, up to its top speed of 145 miles an hour. And it has a fuel capacity of 16.6 gallons. You can expect the fuel economy to be 19 miles per gallon in the city and 25 out on the highway. This has a wheelbase of 105.2 inches. Its overall length is 183.8. It has a width of 71.9 and a height of 57.8 inches. As we move on to the exterior styling now for this all-new WRX, let's start off with the redesigned grille. So it's much wider than the previous generation. Finished off in a dark gray trim, matches nicely with this exterior blue. There's even a lot of cutouts to provide even more cooling to this engine. And on both sides are the LED headlights, which are a little bit smaller. They've been pushed farther to the corners compared to the previous generation, so there's even more contoured lines separating the headlights from the grille. They have a great sleek design to them with a trim piece in the upper section. Turn signal is on the outer corner. And then in the lower section of the bumper are fog lights surrounded by some black trim, and you can see that extends all the way through the lower section of the bumper, where there's even more cutouts down in the lower section. And as we move on to the hood, it has a functional hood scoop with a lot of cutouts to provide maximum cooling to that top-mounted intercooler, and has some really nice lines running from the A-pillar all the way to the top corner of the grille, just to give it a really nice presence. And as we move on to the side now, you can see the black trim from the bumper extends around the fender flares. This is the black cladding, and it's even on the lower side skirt, just tying it in nicely. This has a great set of 18-inch wheels with a dark trim. And this has a set of Brembo brakes with 4 pistons up front and 2 pistons in the rear. The front rotors measure in at 12.4 inches and 11.4 inches in the rear. This also has body-colored side mirrors. There's black trim surrounding the windows just to tie it in nicely with the rest of the black. And I think it has some really nice design elements to it. The rear fender flares have also been widened compared to the previous model. So you can see that line just underneath the rear door handle going all the way to the taillights, just to poke out a little bit. Same with the front, it's a little bit wider as well. And then making our way to the rear, we have a set of LED taillights. There's a black bar running right through the trunk just to tie in the taillights very nicely. This also has a backup camera. There's more of that black trim in the lower section of the bumper. And then the quad tip dual exhaust is on both sides. So there's a look at the exterior for the all-new redesigned 2022 Subaru WRX. Let's move on to the cargo space now. I can use the button on the key fob or the button up underneath, and it reveals a good amount of space for this four-door sedan. There's cutouts on the driver's side and the passenger side, so larger items can go in sideways if needed. And up underneath the floor, there's even some more hidden storage, so if you need to place items down there, you can. And the back seats also fold down, making this a much more practical family sedan. There's hardly any cutouts, so it definitely provides a lot of room if you need to use this for extra storage. And the trunk is very lightweight, so it makes it easy to close. And now let's go ahead and move on to the back seats. And when I open up the door panel has a really nice design. There's carbon fiber-like trim surrounding the entire chrome release handle, really nice fabric on the back side and leather on the armrest. The back windows are automatic, which is a nice touch. There's a little bit of storage on the inside of the grab handle as well as in the lower section, and one of the 11 speakers for this audio sound system. And moving on to these cloth seats, they have a nice two-tone with the solid black running down the middle, as well as this pattern on the inserts. And then red stitching is surrounding all of the seats. And at 5'10", it's time to work my way into these back seats. The door sill is very small. You step over it and then back down, so it's really easy to enter and exit. And with the front seat set at my height, I have plenty of room for my feet and my legs. I'm almost right at the headliner here, but I still have a good amount of space to be able to ride comfortably in the back, as well as having 2 other people next to me if needed. Right in the middle seat, I can fold this down. We have the armrest as well as 2 cup holders. And then here's a look at visibility from the back seats. Very small pillars on the sides. And like I mentioned earlier, the back seats do fold down, so you can get this angle as to how much more extra storage you can put in here. Right in the middle, there are 2 USBs, so that way your backseat passengers can charge electronics. Very low hump right in the middle, so if you do have someone in the middle, it's not obstructing too much of their leg room. So really nice for the backseat passengers. And as we move on to the front seats now, you can use this door handle to lock and unlock the vehicle, of course. And the door panels finish off just like the rear with more of that carbon fiber like trim. All of the windows are automatic. There's the side mirror adjustments as well as the window lock. A little bit more storage in the lower section as well as that same amount behind the grab handle. And then these front seats have some really nice bolster support to them. Same design as the rear ones, obviously. And these are manual adjusting seats. So all of those controls are down on the side, as well as the bar in the front to be able to slide this forwards and backwards. And you'll notice too on the floor mats, WRX and the red stitching is on them, which is a great touch. And now we can move on to hopping into the front seats. Just like the rear, very easy to get in and out. We have a wide opening door, so that makes it much easier, of course. And looking at this steering wheel, it's finished off in leather with more of the red stitching, has a flat bottom design to it with more of that carbon fiber trim. And then to use all these controls, let's go ahead and start this up. With my foot on the brake and the clutch, we have that button over on the right side, and we can bring this to life. And coming back to the gauge cluster, on the left side is the tach and the engine temperature. On the right side is the miles per hour and the fuel gauge. And right in the middle is an LCD screen where you can go through some more information using these buttons nicely hidden down on the lower left. So we have some arrows along with the info button right in the middle. And currently it's showing average MPG as well as distance until empty. I can scroll down and look at another setting for that along with how long you've been in the vehicle. There's the PSI, so you can monitor that, as well as the radio, look at the outside temperature and the time, and then you can even look at your peak boost, so you can monitor that gauge. I think that's the coolest one to have front and center. Your miles per hour are also displayed underneath that, as well as the odometer. And then coming back to the steering wheel, over on the right side is the cruise control settings. On the left side is volume and tuning, as well as your Bluetooth and voice commands. And on the left side of the steering wheel is traction control, as well as the trunk release. There's also a dimmer switch for the gauges. Really nice brush trim piece above that, along with one air vent. And then as we work our way to the center, this is the all-new touchscreen system. It measures 11.6 inches. There's a lot of info that we can go through. Currently, this is on the home screen, so you can see all these icons from radio and media. You can go to phone, look at your car information. So by pulling this up, there's some driving stats you can monitor, as well as maintenance that you can pull up and look at all of this. Reset it as needed, which is really nice to see. There's My Subaru settings to go into just to configure this the way that you like to with all this information here. On the left side, if I push on the car icon, this goes into the units, so you can configure those as needed. And on the right side is the driver profile. So if you have more than one person driving this, you can easily set that up. Home is nicely placed right in the middle. And then on the very top, currently it's showing the time as well as the outside temperature and the radio. If I click on the arrow, now we can pull up some vitals to monitor, as well as the average speed. And then we can also look at the weather, so you can monitor that if you'd like to. So it's really nice to see that. I like the vertical design for the screen. And then on the left side are the hazards. There's power and volume for the radio, as well as the front defrosters. Even the temperature controls for your driver is on this left side. For your passenger, it's on the right side. There's the heated mirrors and tuning for the radio. And in the very lower section, we have a lot more to control for the AC. So the fan speed is down below as well. You can do the recirc, easily push on where you'd like the air to go, and this screen will pop up where you can clearly see that marked, as well as the fan speed too. And then on both sides are even more controls for the heated seats, as well as the temperature for your driver and your passenger. So you can use these buttons that I previously showed, or you can tap on the screen itself. You can even adjust the heated seat and then sync these as needed. You can do that from both sides as well, so it's really nice to be able to see that. There's also some trim surrounding that, along with an air vent on both sides. And as we work our way below that, there are 2 USBs along with an auxiliary. There's a 12 volt and a good amount of space where you could place your phone or other smaller items. And then talking about this 6-speed manual transmission, if I pull this lever up and go all the way to the right and down, that is for reverse, where you'll see the backup camera up here with the guidelines. Pretty good graphics for the system, which is great to see. And then obviously I'll talk about the rest of how this shifts once we get this out on the road. We have the manual parking brake just behind that, along with 2 cup holders and a little bit of storage if you need to use it. And then behind that, we have the armrest with a little bit more storage and a 12 volt, so you can charge electronics from there if needed. And there's plenty of room in the glove box for all of that information. We'll take one last look at these seats. And then up top are the dome lights as well as some call buttons too. All right, so now getting behind the wheel of this all new 2022 Subaru WRX. Every time Subaru comes out with a new redesign, it's always much different than the previous generation, obviously. And I think a lot of people do like the previous generation WRX a little bit better than this one. However, I think it's really cool. I like the sporty characteristics that it has. Like all of that black cladding is what it's called, surrounding the fender flares and the lower section. I think it just gives it a little bit more of that sporty design. It's a little bit more modern, but I do think a lot of people do like the previous generation. Now with this WRX, it's finished off in a little bit darker blue than the normal WR blue, which is that bright blue that everyone sees, especially on the Rally Edition models. And feeling out this clutch while I'm doing a 3-point turn, it actually feels very solid and very almost continuous. Like the bite point doesn't feel like it engages too late. It's kind of all at once. So it's very easy to shift. Shifter is also smooth, a little bit notchy, but that's what you like to feel. So when you get into that next gear, it'll just click. But clutch pedal is super lightweight. You could definitely daily drive this. And a lot of people do. This is their daily driver. You want something that's practical. And I still think it's very awesome that Subaru makes the 6-speed manual standard. You can opt for a CVT transmission. I have never seen a CVT Subaru in my life because, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, 85% of WRXs are sold with the manual, obviously because they come standard, so that's what you're going to see a lot of. But if you want a family vehicle, you need the practicality of having a cool sedan, and you still want that manual. You want something that's budget friendly, right around $30,000, and obviously that will go up or down just depending on the trim level that you go with. This is a really cool option. I wish I could give it more gas for today, but just a slight acceleration there. It is so smooth in that power delivery. Really nice to see that. As far as the interior goes, the biggest change compared to the previous generation is this large touchscreen system. I think that was definitely a must. It doesn't have a ton of information, but it gives you everything that you need without going overboard. So I like the design of it. I like what's available on the screen. And as far as visibility goes, we have windows just in front of the side mirrors. So the A-pillars are thin. The pillars in the back are not all that bulky, as you saw from the back seats. So I can look over my right shoulder, I can easily look over my left shoulder. It feels very open on this interior, and it is a smooth vehicle to drive. I love how it's riding so far. Suspension is absorbing all these bumps very well. Seats are equally as comfortable. I love the bolstering support that they have to offer. It's easy to rev match too. I love how close the pedals are, so I can touch the gas and the brake with my right foot and obviously do the clutch with my left foot. It's a very easy car to drive. So if you're looking for a manual as well, maybe this is your first vehicle, I suggest the WRX. Like I said, the clutch pedal is super light, so you could easily learn how to drive this. And as we switch over to the POV angle now, I just noticed that you can see what gear you're in the lower right of that screen. So in case you forget somehow, you're out on some back roads, even on the track or something, you can quickly look down, see what gear you're in, and set up for the next gear. So it's nice to see that. I love when cars do have that. And from the POV angle, you can see what it's like to be behind the wheel of the all-new Subaru WRX. Comment down below and let me know your thoughts on the new redesign. I think the interior is much nicer. The exterior, yes, does have a little bit of a controversial design, but I think it's going to grow on people over time. And honestly, I'm not sure if the WRX STI will be coming out with this new model, so we'll have to wait and see. For now, we have the WRX with this premium trim level and the manual transmission. Again, I love how Subaru is keeping the manual alive. And like I mentioned earlier, it is super easy to rev match. With a mild acceleration, it's not a loud vehicle at all. Obviously, there's a lot of tuning potential in the WRX world, so you could put on a different exhaust just to give it a little bit better sound, just depending on your personal taste and preference. But the carbon fiber trim on this interior really adds to it, along with this trim piece that you can see just above that glove box. Very nice interior, especially for the money and what you're getting. And then as far as the ride quality for this WRX, it rides pretty smooth. We're on a bumpy road right now, but it's absorbing all these bumps very well. And as far as wind noise goes, you can hear a little bit, but it's nothing crazy. There's no road noise or tire noise, anything like that. But for this, it seems to drive very smooth. You could easily drive this every single day, as a lot of WRX owners do. And so we'll give it another acceleration around a few twisties just to test some of the handling for today with what we can do for this model. We're on a slightly bumpy road, but it handles this well. I wish the road was a little bit smoother. But it feels very planted, just going at a normal rate of speed. And so we'll give it one last mild acceleration for today's video. It gets up and moves. It's not a slow car, even with that mild acceleration. So if you stepped on it, that 0 to 60 time I mentioned earlier is definitely accurate. So this is a quick car for not being the STI, and obviously you can go with an STI. We'll see if they release an all-new STI. But that's gonna wrap it up for this walk-around review and test drive, getting behind the wheel of the 2022 Subaru WRX. Once again, huge shout out to Randy Marion Subaru for providing this vehicle for me today. Check out their website, that link is down below. Give the video a huge thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and consider smashing that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our daily uploads. I will see you all in the next video.